a lot of times bands are thought of as purely a resistive tool, but in reality, they're one of the best assistive training tools you can find. The reason being is they're going to go ahead, number one, and assist you in multiple angles. Number two, the elasticity of the band and the ability that the band has of having an ascending resistance allows you to unload the body. The last thing is, if you look at how the body functions and how the body is driven when it comes to movement, the idea of driven by momentum, gravity, and ground reaction forces, well, the band is going to be perfect for that because it's going to help you soften those forces. It's going to make ground reaction forces softer, it's going to slow down momentum, and obviously it can decrease or slow down gravity. Now, with that said, when I was in physical therapy, working with people, and trying to get them to start ambulating and start getting back on their feet and putting full weight bearing on, one of the things I saw very often was they could not regain that ability to fully weight bear, and definitely not fully weight bear with good quality stabilization. So I started using bands a lot for training weight bearing, and I use them as an assistive device. What I want to do today is I want to show you how you can go ahead and progress somebody that struggles with weight bearing, or more importantly, struggles with the ability to stabilize when they're weight bearing, and how you can go ahead and progress them through. Now, from a fitness standpoint, you may find that, hey, this doesn't apply to my population. Well, what I'm going to show you today how to progress with it from a very low level, but then I'm going to show you in part two how to go ahead and use it in your fitness environment, in your large group settings, to use bands as an assistive device. And what you're going to find is it's going to be a very effective tool and a very fun tool for your clients to go ahead and start using, because they're going to be able to do things now that they couldn't before, because you're going to make gravity, momentum, and ground reaction forces easier on them. That said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, a lot of these assistive training exercises can be done with a single band. So what I've done is I've hooked up the band over here on my bar so that I can go ahead and use it. Now, understand that some of these things can be done in partners, so you can do a partner-attached training. Now, I'm also going to bring a dowel in, because what I find is with a reach exercise, sometimes you need 3 points of contact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my back foot back, I'm going to put my dowel down, and I've got my front foot here. I'm really loading my heel, and I'm just going to go ahead and work reaching drills. Now I've got 3 points of contact: the dowel, my front foot, and my back foot. So now I can go ahead and work on stabilizing through that hip by really driving through that front heel. And I'm going to reach across my body, because that's going to engage my glute medius even more, because I'm adding some rotation. You can also do it straight on, but that's 3 points of contact. Now, as soon as they get stable with that, you can take the dowel away, and now you can go with 2 points of contact. So immediately now they start to become more stable. So that's your first progression, is get them to go ahead, use the band on their hips to do simple stationary reaching. The band, because of it being a horizontal vector, is going to slow my momentum going horizontally. As I reach down, it's going to take away or stabilize, help my hips stabilize as I reach forward. And lastly, it's going to go ahead, in this case not so much because my feet aren't moving, but on the next thing we're going to go ahead and we're going to get some stepping going. You'll see how that impacts ground reaction forces. That brings us to level 2. So now they're going ahead and doing 2-point reaches. Now let's get into rhythmical reaches. They're going to keep their foot stable, and they're going to go ahead and do rhythmical reaches. Again, really focusing on that heel and digging that heel in, because that's the trigger that sends your glutes into activation. Once again, if you have to, bring in 3 points of contact, have them do a rhythmical reach using 1, 2, and this would be the third reach, or third point of contact. But as soon as you can, get rid of that and just have them using this. Now, what does a rhythmical reach do? It takes them from a 2-point of contact to a 1 point and back to a 2 point. So it allows them to start training unilaterally and getting that hip activated, getting it going. From there, we can go ahead and do an assisted step and reach. So I'm going to move my stool out a little bit because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an assisted step and reach. Now this is really key because now you're starting to add in ground reaction forces. So as I step, the band is going to slow me down, make momentum easier, and I'm going to start teaching people how to comfortably put weight through their lower torso. This becomes really obvious when you go ahead and you start working with people that can't weight bear. So if you have clients that are coming off surgeries that cannot weight bear, this is a great way to go ahead and get them started safely. Once they can go ahead and do the step and reach, now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and impact gravity even more. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the stool away and we're going to bring in a step-up bench. So we're going to put the step-up bench down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an assisted step-up. Now to do that, we're going to go ahead and show you from a different angle now how to go ahead and set the band up so it becomes an assistive tool for step-ups. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put the foot up here. We'll work, in this case, we'll work the same left foot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an assistive step-up. The band is pulling me up and I'm learning how to stabilize, reaching back, and you can easily start cueing them on how to go ahead and control that as they go into an assisted step-up. It's going to go ahead and create a little bit more knee flexion. It's going to create the same amount of hip activation. But now what we're going to do is we're going to help that person start getting up the stairs. So if stairs or any type of squatting starts to bother them, a simple assisted step up is a nice way to go ahead and get them going. Now with that, we can go ahead also and do an assisted step down. What I'm going to do is turn around, keep the same foot here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do an assisted step down. So now the band is helping me come down. Now this is by no means a straight hip glute activation training. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to instill in them a little bit more knee flexion with hip activation. But the whole idea is to start getting them ambulating. First we go ahead, we teach them how to handle the ground without impact. Then we slowly start adding impact. Now we've added elevation. So now you're going ahead and progressing them. So you've got them doing the key things that they need to go ahead and be able to do in order to start working back towards a full weight-bearing activity. So there you have it. How to use bands to get your clients that may be struggling with being able to effectively weight shift. How you can go ahead and get them to start understanding how to stabilize onto that and use that hip to stabilize. The key thing will be this. Any of the assisted exercise, you want them to be loading their heel so that their glute is activated immediately. And that's a real key. That's a real key to going ahead and getting them started. The assistive tool, the assistive band, will help them with momentum, gravity, and ground reaction forces. So all they have to worry about now is cueing themselves by engaging through that hip, but making sure the weight comes through the heel and taking advantage of ground reaction forces to activate that glute.